Welcome to Healthy Lifestyle with Lorianne. I am Lorianne Casdia. Our goal here at Healthy Lifestyle is to inspire, educate, and empower you to fulfill a healthy, emotional, spiritual, and physical life so you too can feel empowered to live the life you have always wanted and dreamed. Welcome to the show. I hope you guys are having a really good day. I'm so excited about our guest today. He comes all the way from Vancouver, Canada. So yeah, we're really coming in hot on this one. I am, as you know, a life and business transformational success coach, a #1 international best-selling author, award-winning inspirational speaker, and humanitarian. I help you illuminate, educate, inspire, empower, and ignite people to find and embrace their life purpose, live the highest vision, and forge a strong foundation so you too can soar to success. For more information about how to work with me and visit my team, visit us at ldcstrategies.com or loriannecasdia.com. As I said, today on our show, we have the wonderful Alex Brueckmann. He is a board director, strategy facilitator, speaker, and author. He works at the intersection of strategy, leadership, performance, and empowerment. And Alex's new book, which I'm so excited to talk about, is Secrets of Next Level Entrepreneurs and the Strategy Legacy. And he has received near-ecstatic, which we're going to talk about, advanced praise, and the entrepreneurs, corporate leaders, and leading academics alike just have flipped out over this book, no doubt. And Alex has impacted thousands of business leaders across the world, from multinationals to startups. He holds degrees and certifications in management, leadership, and strategy. We are going to have a really great conversation today with Alex. Alex, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having me, Lori. It's a pleasure to be here.
So happy to have you here, and I'm really, really excited because just last night you had your book launch for Secrets of Next Level Entrepreneurs.
Yes, it was very, very interesting. It was 9 a.m. here on the West Coast, and we had people dial in from Singapore and Australia. So for them, it was the middle of the night, literally. And I was so happy, so blessed, and really enjoyed the event. It was an hour of sharing about the book, hearing how it resonates with the people that got a pre-copy, and it was just wonderful.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. Your writing is absolutely beautiful. It's inspiring, and it just makes you want to be better. And I love books that inspire me that way. And so one of the questions I have, and it's something that I just read in your bio, is near-ecstatic. I think it's more ecstatic than near-ecstatic, don't you?
Yeah, it's kind of... how do I describe this emotion? When you write a book and you know how that feels, it takes some time, and it's a lot of soul searching involved and deep thinking, deep work. And then you put it out there and you test it, and you get pre-copies to people that you trust and want to hear their opinion. And I don't know about you, but I always expect the worst, right? So
it's nerve-wracking. You just threw your heart up on these pages, and now somebody's going to come back and potentially rip it to shreds. So you sit there. To me, I call it a nail biter. Like, I get it. Yeah. It's like, oh my gosh, what if it falls short? And you know what? It generally doesn't. But yeah, I understand the energy of that, of having a book launch. That's exciting. And I want us to walk through that for people who've never done it. It's exciting. I really encourage it for people. But you are, you're revealing parts of yourself when you write a book. Obviously, the best writers write about what you know. So your experiences, what you teach, you're sharing your power, your superpower with people in writing. So yeah, and I'm sure. Tell me what some of the returns you got on that.
So when you ask people to tell you what they think about it, and some of them come back with really, really good ideas. And you're like, wow, if I incorporate that, the book will grow like another 100 pages. You don't want to do this. So you have to be careful with what you hear and take all that feedback with a grain of salt sometimes. And it's really the most inspiring part of getting a book out to pre-readers and receiving feedback is when you sit there and you realize, it seems to hold value. I can't believe it. People love it. And this is kind of weird, because that's why you wrote the book in the first place, to give people something of value. but you never know whether it
Isn't
will
it
land or
amazing
not.
though how surprised we get when
Yeah.
it does give value? Like, oh, this is really resonating. I'm excited. This is actually, it's something. I got something. I think that's the feeling I got is
Yeah.
I got something.
And it's very rewarding when people then tell you, hey, this is good. I will put my name behind that. I will support you. And when people like Marshall Goldsmith say something like that, this is, for me personally, this is like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it.
Yeah.
This
That's
is really
like
exciting.
when Jack Canfield gave me feedback on it, I was like, and Jack Canfield is Chicken Soup for the Soul, co-creator of Chicken Soup for the Soul. So when he gave feedback on my book, I was just like, oh my gosh, because he's a coach and a mentor of mine and a friend now. But that feedback I was dreading it because I didn't know, like, he's a huge author. He's written over 300 books. He has more publications than the Bible, It's just amazing. I mean, it was just amazing for me. So I understand how you feel. I'm feeling you here on that. Tell us, like, what was the process? What made you decide to write The Next Level?
Secrets of Next Level Entrepreneurs originated in a 3-day business summit that I ran more than a year ago. I invited more than 40 speakers, about 3 days, and we talked about several topics in depth. And at the end of this summit, so even before the summit, I was like, let's see what comes out of it. Maybe we can use the content to create something that we don't see yet.
Right.
And actually, it came through. The content of this book is a deep dive of what we talked about in the summit. But obviously, it's not 45 chapters. It's just 11. And those are really, really deep. So, for example, New York Times bestselling author Charlene Lee talks about the topic of leading through times of disruption. She was a guest at my summit, and we then used this as a jump-off point to really dig deep into the topic. And that's her chapter in the book. Or Dr. Hermann Simon, the most world-renowned expert when it comes to strategic pricing, he helps us understand, first of all, the core of strategic pricing. So how do you price your products and services? But then also added something that we saw when we wrote the book. We saw it already at the horizon, and we kind of took a bet that it will stay with us until the book is there. The whole topic of high inflation. What does inflation mean to your strategic pricing efforts? Unfortunately, we were right, and inflation is still a thing. But it's really interesting to read the book from that perspective of the time that we are currently going through, and understanding that several topics around skills like pricing, like strategy, like leadership, how do they help us to lead a more balanced life and to thrive in business? That's kind of the subtitle of the book, right? So that's where the idea came from, to give people something that is timeless in value, that they can read cover to cover or just chapter by chapter whenever they need it.
Yeah, and the good thing about material like this is it meets you wherever you are. So every time you read it and you've grown, you're going to pick up other things that you didn't pick up the first time because it didn't resonate. You weren't ready for that information. So you constantly, and that's why, like you mentioned, 2 authors that are just superb. They're sublime. And they really, again, when you read their materials, you pick up something new every time you read it. So I am a frequent reader of the same books. And I think that's really important because every time you read, you come out with other nuggets that are just amazing and applicable to that moment, to that very moment that you're reading it. You're like, oh my gosh, this is like so what I needed right now.
How could I not catch up on this before, right?
Yeah.
Hey, you were a different person then.
Like, so it's so obvious at that moment, but yeah, you weren't ready. I always say you weren't ready to receive that information. And again, if I knew what I know now then, I just can imagine where my life would have gone, but I wasn't ready for it then. I needed to go through and grow the way I did in order to be prepared to have this intake. Otherwise, it would have overwhelmed and just probably crushed me. Right. So, and I love that in the book, you talk about the role of leadership and in times of disruption. And, I want to talk more about that because we are in a time of disruption, like everywhere across the country. Now, you originate in Germany, correct? Whereabouts?
I used to live in Nuremberg.
Okay. And now you're in Canada, in Vancouver. So
Yeah.
that's great. So you understand, you've been in different areas of the world that have different disruptions going on, shall we say. So what's best advice that you can give our listeners right now when dealing with disruption? Because part of it is about fluidity. We need to see where we are and to stay on course. But how do we do that when it's so disruptive and in some people's cases feeling unmanageable?
What I love about Charlene's chapter in the book is the clarity about how to approach disruption. There is just no way of sugarcoating it. It is brutal. Disruption, especially for organizations, for companies, can be really, really tough. And there is no need to give people some sort of a cushion. They can take it if we package it in a proper way, if we help them live through it and see the end, the light at the end of the tunnel. They are more willing than we often assume to do the hard work and to go through the disruption with us. It's when we don't embrace disruption, it's when we shy away from it, when we close our eyes, put our head into the sand, that's when we start to become fearful, and when we just don't want to see what's going on around us anymore, when we shut out the world and just hope for the best. And that's not a good way of approaching disruption.
No, not at all. From a leadership standpoint too, is that we need to, like being parents, we need to create that safety. So if we're not being honest with our employees, if we're not being honest with our team will lose trust in us, right? So they may gain some distrust as well as fear, as well as uncomfortability, and it just stacks. And that's hard to come back from. I used to work for someone years ago. I won't be very specific because otherwise they'll know exactly who they are. But I used to work for somebody who, when I was speaking to the people I was serving, I was being very honest with them, and it wasn't a good answer. And I told them, you're not going to like this answer, but it's going to be the honest answer. So I told them the honest answer, and I was told by this person, don't ever tell them that, tell them this. And I was like, I can't do that, because what'll happen is they're making decisions from the information they're gaining right here. Yeah. And if I'm not being honest with them, they're going to be pushed even farther back than where they are right now. And that's not right. That's not fair. I wouldn't want that to happen to me. I'm certainly not going to do it to them. So I was incredibly honest, and they were like, no, they're not going to be able to take it. And I said, trust me, they will take it. They will not be pleased, but they will be appreciative that we were honest. The same with employees. Whenever I'm honest with the people who are serving with me, they step up. They step up and they're like, okay. And they come in with ideas. And my favorite is, and I'm sure you do this, is I'll have an idea, I'll throw it on the table, and the collective mind is always stronger than the singular. The idea blows up and gets even better than anything I even thought of. Do you find that when you work with leadership?
It is absolutely impossible to stand in front of a crowd these days and be like, I know exactly what we need to do, let's go. No one believes that anymore. The world is too complex. No one knows where this world will go. And a very good example is the rise of AI these days. Oh, yeah. Even the people who build these AIs tell us that they are not 100% sure where this will go. And this is work in progress and a moving target, and especially all the questions around the fears that come with the rise of AI and the ethical questions around it. This is something that we are currently exploring. There is no such person that can tell you exactly how it will turn out. So don't pretend as a leader to know exactly how things will turn out, because people don't believe you. The world is too complex. Co-create it with them, and they will help you get to the point where you want to be.
Yeah. Also, we all look at things from different angles, and that's why really smart people surround themselves with smarter people, right? So when we can look at something 360, we're doing it with the help of many, many people, because we're coming in with it. And that's why I like differences of opinion, different ideas, different viewpoints. I love that diversity in thought, because they may see something that I'm like, didn't even think of that. And so that's really valuable. And where is it going? I don't know. Some of it I'm trepidatious because of the unknown. And there's where the fear is. It's the unknown. It's like, where can this be taken? Well, if we think, sci-fi-ish, it can be taken pretty far. And where's the line between breaking, privacy versus what needs to be public? And who makes that decision? I always wonder this with like the EPA, the Environmental Protection in the United States. I always wonder, like, what's the difference between a 6 and a 7? 6 is good, 7's bad. Like, who determined that, and at what level is it okay? And who gets to decide that? So those are the type of questions that are kind of coming up, and I'm seeing that a lot in the work that I'm doing with AI, is that it's like, well, who determines if it's okay to do what we're doing? So I just recently went to the airport, and they used a face they didn't even look at my ticket, my passport, my license, nothing. They took welcome, please, you can get on the plane, Lorianne. I was like, what now? Don't you want this stuff? And they're like, no, we know who you are. And I'm like, I don't know how I feel about that. So it was pretty interesting. It was expedient, but it also left me going, what do they, like, what's in my permanent record? You ever hear that in school? It's going to be on your permanent record. So it's an exciting time. So what other nuggets come out of that leadership? I know you deal with leaders all the time. You work with them. What are the things that you see the most when working with leaders?
I often work at the intersection of leadership and strategy. So creating a vision for an organization. Where do you want the business to be in 3 to 5 years? And then defining the overarching business strategy, basically the top priorities and how they help you make decisions on a daily basis. And it is interesting to see how different types of leaders define or redefine themselves in such processes. Who are the leader that they want to be? Are they fully focused on the planning piece, like turning this overarching idea into action? Allocating cost budgets, creating the illusion of control, or are they fully focused on the external part, about the customer, about the future, about the unknown? Are they excited about that piece? And that is something that I love when you work with leadership teams. Some will automatically be drawn toward the unknown to create the future, and others will automatically try to hold on to something that they can control because the unknown is so scary.
Yeah. Well, wouldn't that be natural?
Of course it is. Yeah. And it heavily depends on what you're comfortable with. And especially when it comes to business strategy, when there is no uncomfortable element in the room, your strategy is not worth the paper it's written on, because that simply means you stay within your comfort zone, you stay within what you know, and you stay within what you can plan. Yes. And that's just not strategy. Strategy is really about embracing the unknown, creating something that you possibly can't know how to do it today, because otherwise you would be there already, right?
Exactly.
And that is something truly exciting, to live on that intersection of leadership and strategy, and see people, human beings as leaders, evolve as they go through a process like that.
Right in front of you. Yeah, I love watching that happen myself. And I always say I'm more comfortable being uncomfortable than I am being comfortable. And it's true, because I know I'm not growing if I'm comfortable, and then that makes me sad. So now I'm uncomfortable because I want to be growing. So the unknown isn't fearful anymore. It's exciting. I look at it from a different lens of excitement of, okay, where's this going to go? I don't know. So let's find out. And I love that you have this big smile on your face, because you go through the process with them. You go through that growth with them, right?
Yes, that's correct. And that is something very rewarding, not only for me personally, but also for them, that they don't do it alone. So they don't feel like they are left alone. It's super interesting to work with a strategy facilitator that has seen different businesses, different industries, different countries, that just can hold up a mirror in a positive sense, but also sometimes in a little bit of a kick butt sense.
Yeah. Well, we're picking at it, right? That's what we do. We pick a little bit at it to show them what they need to see in order for them to be able to grow. So yeah, ickbot. I love that. I'm going to use that. That's really great. The growth potential is so illuminating. And I think your book, Secrets of Next Level Entrepreneurs, is really a great place for someone to start. I love what you said too about, read a chapter at a time, read it as it resonates with you, where you can use it. It's really it's really a good book to tuck under your wing and keep on your desk for, emergencies. It's like emergencies, go to the book and read back to the book so that you know where to start and to build strategies. As a strategist myself, that's where I find the yummy stuff, the juicy stuff is right there in building the strategies. So is that where you find yourself, really overexcited?
The reason why we kind of capsule the book in 3 different pieces is exactly that, because we know from our own experience as authors and as business leaders, at some points in time, it's really about not knowing what to do. It's about a skill gap, a knowledge gap. So that's what you find in theme 1 in the book. But in other times, it's really about the leadership and culture building piece. And for example, how do you deal with conflict in your organization? That's what you find in the second theme of the book. And the third theme is all about you as a leader. It's about self-leadership, self-care. It's about what needs to happen inside of you. What do you need to allow yourself to do or to stop doing to be more happy in life, if you want, and to thrive not only from a commercial perspective, from a profit perspective, but also from a perspective as a human being. Absolutely.
And the second half, I really want to dive deeper about the third part of the book, because I think it's really very, very interesting. You are listening to Healthy Lifestyle with Lorianne. We're speaking with Alex, and we're going to be right back after this short break. Lifestyle with Lorianne. I am Lorianne Casdia. And if you would like to be a guest or lift up your business product or not-for-profit, or if you have a question or comment, we'd love to hear from you. Email us at healthylifestylewithla@gmail.com. That's healthylifestylewithla@gmail.com. And as you know, I am a business coach, strategist, empowering, educating, and igniting people to take action with jet propulsion and monetize their message. I have developed a proven 3-step system that will provide a strategy, make it easy for visionary entrepreneurs to take action. We cultivate and activate behavioral changes. I show you exactly how to define who you are in order to reach your personal and professional goals, from disrupting limiting beliefs to cultivating confidence to mastering communication skills, and then, of course, architecting actionable plans. I work with people, taking them from confusion to clarity in their lives while aligning their vision and perfecting their message. Well, like I said, we are here today and speaking with Alex Brueckmann, unbelievable individual who just had his book launch, second book, but this book is Secrets of Next Level Entrepreneurs, and you can find that at alexthestrategist.com, because his last name is really hard to spell. So that's alexthestrategist.com. That's a really great website name. I love that. So Alex, welcome back to the show.
Thank you very much.
So tell us more. We had left off, we were talking about the third part of your book. And that being really working with the individuals. And that is always very trepidatious, because now we're going to help someone really see what we already see, the potential in them. And that's always exciting. So talk about your process and how you do that.
Well, the third part of the book was written by 3 people, right? So Dr. Ken Keyes, who talks about whole person self-awareness. So basically exploring who you are, what made you who you are, what has influenced you, who were the teachers and mentors that influenced you, for example, in your childhood or later when in your teenage years. And we talk about everything from your physical to your spiritual to your mental self.
Yeah.
Who are you and how many, if you want, right? And exploring these different aspects of your life, allowing yourself to basically achieve a 360 understanding of who you are as a person. The second part of that third chapter was contributed by Teresa Quinlan, who helps us understand the importance of emotional intelligence and how we can use our own emotional intelligence to create a more, let's say, a life by design rather than a life by default. So understanding the elements in your life that you value, understand what gives you energy, understand what makes you tired, what's a burden, what's something that you need to get rid of, and do it intentionally, on purpose, rather than just inheriting value systems that might have been the right ones for someone in your family, but probably are not exactly who you are. And then the third and final chapter in this last part of the book was written by myself, where I talk about 4 specific mindset shifts that I realized helped me through a very, very challenging time in my life, but not at the moment where it happened, but only later in a conversation with a friend. We uncovered that I kind of behaved differently than my default behavior would be, which is interesting because when you're under stress, you typically default. And I did something different during that time.
Do you know why you did that? Because that's very interesting to me.
I believe that default was not an option at that point in time. And to give you context, right before the pandemic hit, my wife was going through a very difficult last trimester of her pregnancy. I had just founded a new business. We were preparing our move to Canada. My father suffered from terminal cancer, and my son was born. All that happened within a few months, part of it within a few weeks. And then the pandemic hit on top of that. And that was kind of, this is one of those moments where I typically would have gone into my default mode, which would be head down, push through. And there was no way to push through because you couldn't even leave the house. We were locked down.
Right.
So at that moment, at that point in time, we really had to take ourselves out of the hustle, out of the day-to-day, and ask ourselves, okay, what needs to happen so that we don't lose everything we worked so hard for? And to give you a specific example, when you immigrate into another country, in my case, I immigrated from Germany to Canada as a permanent resident. You have a 12-month window to immigrate once you get permission to immigrate. So I got permission to immigrate in August 2019. So my window would shut in July 2020.
2020, oh no.
We had planned our move, handover of my clients, handover of my of the business that I led previously. So I finished up some projects and we wanted to move in April. But we all know what happened in March, and that there were no flights anymore and nothing, and no one knew anything about it about the severity. Every one of us was just afraid. We didn't understand the pandemic yet. We didn't know what's going on.
Yeah, there was no clarity for 2 months.
Exactly. And at that point in time, you can either say, okay, let's wait it out. This will be gone in 2 months, maybe in 2 weeks. But the moment they shut us down, the moment they locked us up, was just, for me, it was clear that this is really, really bad. This is not going away in a couple months. So I would have lost my window of immigration to Canada if we hadn't, despite everything that was going on, against all odds, found a way to go to Canada and to still immigrate in that time. With an 8-week-old baby on our arm, just having buried my father, and everything else that was going on in the world around us, that was a time that I hope I will never be in a situation again where so many different emotions are pulling on myself at the same time. The sheer joy of becoming a first-time father, the horror of the pandemic, and just being overwhelmed by sadness because my dad passed away. Yeah. So all these different emotions were pulling me apart. And by allowing myself not to default, head down and push through, but to step back and ask the broader questions of what is it that we really want to do? If we think 3 years in the future, when I look back, what do I want to be happy that I did, rather than sad I didn't do?
Sure.
And that's when I did not default, but actually shift my mind, my thinking, my mindsets around opportunities, around the future, and not about the very moment I was in.
What a beautiful story that of the shift and everything. And I apologize, so sorry for your loss, but so happy about the baby and glad that you were able to move into Canada. So you got all of that accomplished, but you had a choice there. And I have found that our greatest opportunity for growth comes from our greatest tragedies or challenges. And I'm watching you just shift it. And you could have stayed stuck and just went, all right, and put your head in the sand. But you were like, no, let me ask different questions. And that shift, at that very moment, you were changing the the trajectory of your life. And that's really, I admire you for that. It's not an easy thing to do, but you pushed yourself out of that comfort zone and said, okay, here's what's going to happen. I don't have any control over that, but what I do control is these decisions I get to make. And look at where you are today.
Yeah, the big learning for me in this entire situation, the interesting part is exploring how much you can actually take without breaking down. I would not have thought that I could handle all these emotions without just losing it. Yeah. And I just said I don't ever want to feel that mayhem of emotions ever again. But if it comes for whichever reason, I now know I can deal with it. And it took away the edge. It took away the fear. I was able, with the help of other people, to push open a whole new level of consciousness for myself and of growth, and to expand what I believe is possible. And I agree with you. This is something that happens when you go through difficult times more often than when you enjoy, let's say, life in the comfort zone.
Yeah. Well, life in the comfort zone, you're not going to feel expansion, right? You're not going to have these opportunities to make these decisions. And those were a lot of emotions you were getting slammed with in all different directions, and did such a good job managing it, which makes it so yummy for you and juicy for you when you're dealing with, working with other people, working with other leaders. You've been there, you've done that, you've made those changes, those hard transitions, and lived through it. And that's the exciting thing for me when I hear you talking about it, because you utilize language like you chose to. You utilize language that, you were in an uncomfortable state, but you still went for it. That's really growth at its finest, don't you think?
Yeah. And this is nothing that just comes easy. Experiencing these situations gives you an opportunity, and these opportunities, I experience them every day now because I look for them. Yes. And you said something earlier that I really liked, around the uncomfortable feeling that comes with growth. And it was Andy Grove who said, and he wrote a book about it, right? Only the paranoid will survive. The moment I don't feel the moment I start to feel comfortable is that moment where I now get paranoid. I'm like, this is not good. Just feeling too comfortable is just not good, because there is no growth happening. And I look for these moments where I can explore the kind of uncomfortable that helps me discover new things, see where I might have been wrong in the past, and just find a new perspective on topics and learn from others. That is something super exciting, and I'm very grateful for the experience, even if it was very hard over the past years, to settle, to just unpack all these emotions one step at a time, to grow into the role of a first-time father. All these things, they come with challenges, but I see them as growth opportunities. As they
grow up, there are more challenges. Trust me, you'll be very happy because you'll be very uncomfortable as they grow up. But it's very sage what you're saying. Absolutely very sage, and that really we crave, once you get comfortable at being uncomfortable, you crave that growth because something new, you're going to learn something new, you get a new challenge, you're growing as a human, which allows you to help other people grow as humans. Another thing that you said that I thought was really important was about self-awareness. So many people think they're self-aware until they go through this process. When we go through this process with clients, it suddenly they recognize that they weren't as self-aware as they thought they were. Do you find that?
Yeah, absolutely. I just had a coaching session yesterday that was sort of mind-blowing in a sense that I've seen this type of behavior so often that it's almost like I can't believe it's still out there, where when you coach someone through a 360-degree review, for example, and they start to see the patterns, and you realize how at the beginning of the conversation, they're still very self-supportive, if that makes sense. So they talk themselves up and they try to justify certain things that they see. And the more the conversation lasts, the longer it lasts, the more quiet they get when they realize that they have an inflated self-worth, or they have blind spots that are just now right in front of them. They are uncovered, and there's just no point in trying to talk yourself out of the situation, because there were like 15 people telling you the same thing. You should probably start to listen, that you're not the only person who's going in the right direction and everyone is on the wrong side of the road. So it's just something that it is always very exciting for me to help people through these processes, because as painful as they are in the moment, they bring, if you allow yourself to lean in, they bring so much growth. Yeah. And that's what I love about our job as executive coaches. We can help people through a process that is very uncomfortable, and be their safety net. Leaning in, they lean in, we lean in, and together we create something that is truly powerful.
And that's creating that environment, that safe environment, to allow that vulnerability to come out and allow that self-discovery to come out, and know that it's okay. We all don't have to be perfect. We don't have to have all the answers. We probably don't have any of the answers, but we go find people. And my dad always said that to me. He goes, you don't have to know the information. You have to know who knows the information. So, or you have to know where to find it. And that I have lived by that rule. It's like, I don't have to know it, but I know where to find it, or I know who to call. It's like, I'm going to call Alex because he's the strategist. I'm going to call him because he's going to be able to bring me through and help my client go through it. And very often reaching out to other strategists or executive coaches, we help each other help a client, go through that and create that beautiful environment. And when they jump that hurdle, isn't that magical? That makes me so happy. But
absolutely,
they see, because now they're seeing what we already saw in them, which was the fullness of what they could be. And they end up being even better. Better than what they had already thought that they were, but in truth. So now they're genuinely better themselves, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, the growth potential is amazing. Seeing that in people, seeing that unfold, this is one of the greatest pleasures in the work that I do.
Oh, yeah. Well, I totally agree. Totally agree. And I love you speak about conscious cultures. Talk about that with us for a minute.
It's something that we put into the second theme of the book.
Right.
The community building, the culture building aspect of leadership. So leadership is, of course, it is about getting results, but it's also about using your influence to help people thrive, to build communities that where people feel included, create workspaces where people can bring their whole self to work and thrive.
Bring their best out.
Exactly. And we offer a few different perspectives on how you can do that, what you can focus on, which levers you can pull. And as much as the third theme is about self-leadership, the second theme is about leading other people, leading businesses, and doing it with a intention of just making this world a better place through the way we lead, through the way we lead our businesses, through the way we show up every day, not only at work, but also in our personal lives, in the communities where we're active.
Yeah, in life, we, if they say, if you want to change the world, you have to start with yourself. So as a good leader, if you're asking other people to do things you don't do yourself, we're not walking the walk, are we now? So what kind of leader are we? So I always say, never ask somebody to do something you're not willing to do yourself. So you're asking them to push a broom, better push a broom. And again, from my sage dad, who obviously is a role model of mine, he would always say, if you're going to work in a corporation, Lorianne, I want you to start in the warehouse. I want you to understand every step of the way and sit in everybody's seat. So when you're making those executive decisions, you understand how it affects them and you understand how to empower them and get the best out of them. Because when people come in, you want to get the best Alex, the best version of Alex out there, right?
That's exactly it. I had a corporate leader once tell me that, how did he say that? It was something along the lines of, this is my business. I will never ask you to work harder than I work. Yeah. And so if we embrace that as leaders, it's not really about putting in 15 hours a day. It's about showing up the way you want other people to show up. It's about treating people the way you want to be treated. And these are just common decencies as human beings. And for example, my dad,
tools, not just business tools. These are life tools. Yeah. That's why I say I'm a life and business transformational success coach. But that's really redundant because you don't separate the two. You need to show up in the world a certain way and give back and only work with. That's why the MVV, the mission, vision, value, is so very important to me, because your values are so important to creating that culture and making sure the people who are in your culture have those similar values, and then you're serving clients with those similar values. So if you're saying one thing and doing another, if you're saying, the earth is so important, but you're knocking down all the trees and not replacing them, we have a disconnect, right? Where's the truth in that? So truth is words and actions. And that's what you're talking about in the culture, creating that environment, being that yourself and showing up the way you want other people to show up for
Absolutely.
you themselves. So I can only imagine how powerful you are when you're speaking about this, because I can see how powerful you are today in speaking about it in such a passionate way. So what are your next plans? What are your next steps?
Yeah, good question. My next book comes out in the fall this year.
Oh my gosh, you're a book machine.
No, not really. It's a coincidence. Those books were written at different times. It's just a coincidence that they are being published in the same year.
No such thing as a coincidence, my friends.
Yeah. Sometimes you have to ask yourself, why? Why is this happening? In the end, I'm very happy about having the second book out in the fall, because it's a book that I wrote during 2020 and 2021 mainly. So having it finally out in the world is something that is very exciting. It's a book about how do you use
strategy legacy?
Exactly. It's called The Strategy Legacy, and it's a book that gives you the framework and the process to implement the framework in one book, about how do you use a strategy process in an organization to create way more than just a strategy. How do you use that process to look holistically at your business and ask yourself, why are we doing this? What is the impact that we want to create? What are the principles and values and leadership guidelines that we give ourselves to walk the talk? How can we translate our overarching idea for the business into goals that people can embrace, into individual targets that make sense, that provide orientation, that provide motivation, that provide people a sense of belonging? And how do we structure our organization in a way that we support all this? So how do we create the management systems around it? And this is something that I'm truly, truly passionate about. It's what I've been doing for over 15 years. And I strongly believe that this book can change lives. It can change the lives of people that lead businesses, but also the lives of people who are in the business somewhere in the middle and lead around them 360 upwards, downwards.
Oh my gosh. That's just amazing. Just amazing. I love that passion. It's almost the prequel to the Secrets of Next Level Entrepreneurs, but it's coming out in this fall. So this fall it's coming out. I'm so excited to have you on, Alex. Thank you so much for coming on. More information, alexthestrategist.com. Can they get both of the books on Amazon? Can they get them directly from you? The Secrets of Next Level Entrepreneurs and The Strategy Legacy in the fall. Can they get that on Amazon, or how can we get it?
Secrets of Next Level Entrepreneurs is available everywhere where you can buy books, as hardcover and as an ebook. So for example, on Amazon as a Kindle version globally, the hardcover is currently being rolled out. So it's available in North America at the moment. It will be available in Europe starting of May, and then it will just make its way through the world. The Strategy Legacy will be available for pre-order in May this year. So let's see.
That's soon. That's really soon. Oh my gosh, you're amazing. So please visit Alex at alexthestrategist.com. Alex, thank you so much for being on our show today. And thank you all for joining us today on Healthy Lifestyle with Lorianne. I hope we have earned the privilege of your time. Again, I want to thank our guest today, Alex Brueckmann, for coming on today and sharing his just unbelievable wisdom. I've grown myself today, so this was fun, but I wasn't uncomfortable. That's strange.
Thanks for having me, Lorianne.
Oh, absolute pleasure. And thank you for joining us today again on Healthy Lifestyle with Lorianne. Look for our show every Saturday at 3 p.m. Until next time, I am Lorianne Casdia. Play a higher role, serve a higher purpose. Show, read, and show.